Hi, I'm Chavez. I'm an attorney in Los Angeles, California. I have an office in Beverly Hills. My practice covers basically all the four major counties in Southern California. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the brutal frankness that an attorney should have with their client about the expected outcome. In my feeling of dealing with other attorneys, there's a lack of bedside manner in dealing with talking with their clients about what's taking place in their case. I like to stay in close contact with my clients. I like to make sure that they understand what's happened, what's going to take place, and what I expect to have take place at the next meeting. In criminal law and in all aspects of law, the client, you should be in charge of what the goal is. You determine the outcome that you want. As your attorney, I determine the strategy on how to get there. And that way, by taking control of that, I decide how it's going to be, the case is going to be run. But I have to be informative of you to let you know exactly what's going to take place each step of the way. This comes from an experience early in my career. I was interviewing a young woman outside the courtroom on her case. It was a simple, easy misdemeanor case, and I read through all the facts of it, and then I read the case to her, the facts that were outlined in the arrest report, and I turned to her and I asked her, "Are all of these things true?" And she said yes. And I had to look her in the eye and tell her, you know what, you're probably going to go to jail. And by doing that, by being frank, and I didn't realize at the time that I was doing this, but by being frank like that, she dropped into a mode of acceptance. It made it a lot easier for her to understand. Now at that point we had to decide how much jail is going to be adequate for her to be, for the prosecutor, but also be able to, that she would be able to accept a plea, rather than to take it to trial where she would be exposed to a much longer jail sentence. That's my job, is to minimize your exposure in a situation like that. I'm going to relate another story about another client. I had a case in federal court just recently. When I took over the case, my client was exposed to almost 20 years of hard time in federal prison. And I told him, you know, this is really going to be difficult to do. Now, in the end, we were able to make a plea deal that substantially reduced the amount of time. And we were able to actually get it to where he only had to serve under some house arrest. And that made it much more acceptable for him to be able to prepare for his life outside of prison, because he never actually had to do the prison time. But the fact that I brought it to him in a factual scenario where he was probably going to have to go to prison, he was able to accept each of the steps along the way to be much more cooperative with the prosecutor as we negotiated the plea deal. And that made it a lot easier for the outcome to come to a better outcome. So I try to bring that to each of my clients, that same frankness, because it makes it much easier for me to be able to work with the client and with the prosecutor, because there are two parties that I have to work with there. The judge is another party that has to be brought in on that, but only if the prosecutor's on board as well. And if I have you, the client, lined up on a team with me, then we can bring the outcome to a lot more positive determination, as long as we're working together. And so I bring that frankness and that brutality to the conversation right from the very beginning. That way, you are informed, you know exactly what's going to happen, and I can be a lot more accurate in my predictions as to the outcome.